we sort of took this like mixed private equity / startup approach where we bought a company, an existing company, that's based in Arizona, where we're now based. That was like a sort of legacy payroll company, pseudo not, that's been around for 20 years or so, with revenue, with a merchant portfolio. So as part of our sort of first raise, a portion of that raise went towards buying this company. And then, yeah, so we completed the acquisition April. We launched actually in January, our payments product. So we were sort of like in stealth mode June to January, launched in January, then completed the acquisition and have been building on top of that, doing like a whole rehaul of the company we bought, as well as like integrating some products into that existing software. So I was sort of like part of the private equity piece of it in terms of negotiating the deal and doing all the diligence, and then transitioned into CFO / co-founder, me and three other co-founders, actually.
Interesting. So that type of situation where you acquire a company that's already in business is probably not super uncommon, but it also doesn't seem super common either. Is that, have you ever done anything like that before?
I haven't, no. So my sort of mentor / the guy who's the chairman of our board, came from the search fund world, some venture stuff, but mostly search fund. And the way he's from San Francisco originally, Stanford grad, and the way that he built his portfolio was taking this approach of buying existing companies, and just stacking them up and rolling them up, which is very common in private equity, but less so, I think, in the startup world, at least as far as I understand. We came to that approach partially due to just the fundraising environment last year, some of the attitude towards startup investment in general, sort of post high interest rates, et cetera. We thought, it's going to be easier for us to raise money if part of the use of proceeds is going towards something that's already generating revenue. The company we bought was generating nearly $1 million a year in revenue. So it's like gets you to profitability way faster. We have the opportunity to sell into those companies our new product. So it's like, just provided a strong base. So sort of this hybrid startup, private equity approach.
Really cool. Very interesting. Yeah, I can see that's a huge advantage if you have the capital to, acquire the company in the first place. You already have the customers, the revenue, some
Yeah. And I
tech,
mean,
of
we got a
course.
good deal. I hadn't done any private equity work before this. I was a trader previously, cryptocurrency trader, like getting into crypto in 2015, 2016, right around the end of 15. And ran a fund with a partner of mine. So like very well-versed in finance and, how to value things. But we did a lot of work at getting a good price, both from an investor perspective of like being able to say to the investor, we did our best here, we're getting the best deal, but also from a business standpoint of, I'm a big believer of like every dollar, especially if you're losing money and you're spending investor money, I need to be able to sit across from that person and say, here's how I spent every one of your dollars, and here's why I spent every one of your dollars. Because at the end of the day, it's their money.
Right.
So we worked really hard on the acquisition, and it's paying off. It's a lot of work, but it's paying off.
Cool. So your crypto experience is interesting to me, but before jumping into that, of course, I want to start with vibe coding. I know, we spoke earlier about you have been championing vibe coding within your product, or within your team rather, and creating tools to prototype internal software for your team. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And are you the only one in your team doing it? And like what it looks like within the broader company?
Yeah. So I played around with Lovable back in February or so, just to like see what was up with it and make some sort of fun splash pages. Um, and honestly, my hand was sort of forced by not having enough development resources to build some of the tools that we needed to build. And I was talking to Ash, our interim CTO, who you know, and the first version of this was going to be a very simple tool for our sales reps to be able to see how much they could earn off a deal, like a margin calculator. That sort of packages our business logic, and it's going to be a very simple tool. And he was like, dude, just try to do it on Lovable, like see what happens. And from that, I just kept pulling on the thread, and it became a much bigger thing. As far as I know, I'm the only person on our team doing it now. I think I would know if others were. And it's been really quite crazy what I've been able to do. Like I grew up on the internet. Like I've been around technology for a long time, used a lot of software, but I don't know a line of code. I understand how it works, but I don't understand, I couldn't write it myself. And since between February and end of July, which is when I started this, I hadn't used Lovable since they added the chat functionality, and they have some agentic stuff now too. And its ability to reason is way better than it was before. And through doing it, it's been this really fun experience where through doing it, I've not only learned a lot more about how software is put together, which has been really cool, just for my own sort of learning, if you will, but also just like realizing that, like I already knew this from using GPT a lot, but you gotta give it guardrails of what to look at, and when you do that, when you speak to it the right way, the stuff you can get out of it is, it's pretty wild.
I agree. So when you say speak to it the right way, what does that look like in your use case?
Yeah. So I haven't used any other vibe coding tools other than Lovable, just full transparency. So I don't know if this would apply elsewhere, but they have this chat mode, right? So you can, when I was using it previously, you could only just tell it, do this, and it would execute after, right? And you wouldn't have the ability to see how it's thinking about what it's going to do before actually executing it, right? So now they have this chat mode, which builds these plans for you. And I think there's like maybe an impulse. I had the impulse initially where like, I'm not even going to read what it says. I'm just going to say like, yeah, it's probably got it, and hit like implement the plan. And what I realized over time was like, I think probably 30-40% of the chat back and forth, like the actual prompts I'm putting in, are in chat mode, where I'm just I'm optimizing what it's going to do and double checking that what it's going to do is actually what I meant. Cause there can be, it sometimes can be like a dog chasing cars. Like it gets stuck on one thing, and then everything you say gets filtered through solving that problem, when really it's a totally different thing. And realizing that has made what's possible, for me at least, a lot better. There's still those moments where like you're telling it to do the same thing over and over again, and it just won't realize that, it's just not right.
We've been there. So it sounds like using chat mode more has been helpful, and at least within Lovable.
Using chat mode, and again, like I feel like I've learned about how software works, especially like once I connected a database, I used their Supabase integration, and that's made it even more chat, like, because I really want to be careful not to screw up the database structure the way that it is, because especially we have users using it now. But at the same time, like just gaining more of an understanding of the way that it wants to change things, and they don't have a clear interface to tell you when the chat memory resets. Sometimes it's like, it feels like, did it just get dumber, or is it just
Yeah,
indexing the code base again? You know,
for sure.
uh,
Yeah.
you kind of have to
So
massage it a little bit.
yeah, yeah, there definitely are some frustrations and limitations, but I want to better understand exactly like how you're using it and what you're using it for. And I think if you could share your screen now, that would be a good opportunity to get into
Yeah,
the tool that
absolutely.
you've built.
Absolutely. Give me one sec.
So this is an internal tool for your company. And okay, so we're looking at it now. And so, this is a video and audio. So if you could, just kind of just visually describe what we're looking at for people that are just listening as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we needed an internal tool for our salespeople, as well as us from a management side, to consolidate and track all of our deal submissions or contract submissions. We have multiple products. So it's payroll, payments processing, and time and attendance processing, which is like punch clocks. We needed a place to consolidate that. And previously we were just doing it on spreadsheets. Because we own a piece of software, we're using some partner pieces of software. There's different APIs, different data sources that we needed to consolidate. And like I said before, between lack of dev resources and limited API functionality from some of our partners, I basically just said, I'm going to try to build this, right? So what I have up, what the home screen is, and this would show, there's dummy data in here, so it's not pulling up for the margin performance, but this is going to show to the sales rep, margin is how much they've signed that month in terms of contract value, which sort of works towards their own KPIs and metrics. I'm just signed in from my account here, and I'm not a salesperson, so I don't have any deals of my own. And then, basic sort of, here's your pipeline, right? And you can access some quick actions. It's really funny. I have a screenshot somewhere of the first version of what this looked like. And it was like 4 buttons that led to very simple pages. But it's basically an internal CRM for the sales rep. They can, I'll just sort of click around here and show some of the high level stuff. So if they want to submit a payroll deal, I'll do payroll Inc., payroll DBA, put it my email, and not do that. I have, I put in, oh, this is not going to work. I'll just put in a
you're
fake address.
entering some data here, dummy data, to keep track of for what purpose?
So this is going to be customer information, just core customer information, phone number, address, EIN. I was able to do this securely through some of the Supabase Edge functions. That was one of the things where when I was building, I was sort of like, let's see how capable this is, and said, I need to be able to take EINs. How should we do this securely? And chatted back and forth for like 30, 40 minutes, optimizing to be sure that that information was secure at entry, rest, transmission, et cetera. This is just like basic payroll pricing information in terms of like base fee, how much each employee, what the pay run frequency is, and how many employees. Because this is an internal tool for the sales rep, I wanted to surface what was most important to them from the beginning, which is like how much they're going to get paid. The way we compensate our sales reps is it's a commission only sale. They get a bonus that's equivalent to a portion of the annual revenue, and then they get a piece of the revenue, the residual revenue over time. So I wanted to give them that everywhere they could possibly see it, really as an incentive as they're pricing out a deal to go like, oh, what if I make it $12 an employee, right? Try to encourage them from a product perspective, try to encourage them to make choices that are good for them and good for the business.
And real quick, I'm realizing I think we're missing a bit of context of what exactly are they selling. I don't know if you have kind of provided the detail on what the actual software is that the sales reps are selling.
So it's very core payroll processing services. So literally, our target customer is like a Main Street small business, like a tire shop, a pizza shop, a pharmacy, a grocery store. It's for people who need very basic W-2 and hourly employee payroll processing and tax handling. Like,
Okay.
they, you know, in the United States, it's legally required. So we think of it as like, it's really a commodity. We optimize around price and optimize around simplicity, in the sense of like the same thing like a 500-person enterprise needs from a payroll perspective is not the same thing that a 20-person dentist office needs, or a 10-person dentist office, you know?
Right.
And then we have a lot of granular features for people in the hospitality industry, people who have multiple locations, stuff like that. So we sort of specialize by industry. So yeah, continuing this, it's like they can add, you know, the different add-ons that you could add, price those out, etc. Still seeing kind of this as you go along. And then this is like, again, we have a lot of supporting documentation that we need to pass to our back end, to like the underwriting department. So I, you know, have file upload. I also built out, you know, like basically like a knockoff DocuSign. I think I think this is going to open this as a separate window here. Yeah, it's going to open it as a separate window. Well, I can send you a screenshot if you want to pop it up on the screen after. But we have like I spent like a weekend. One of our VP of sales was like, I need DocuSign. I need e-sign to be able to send a quote to a customer. I was like, all right, Julie, I'll like see what I can do. And spent like a weekend building out basically an effective DocuSign. It's not working because my account is in demo mode. And then from there, they can do the same thing with a payments deal. This is like an iframe to our underwriting department. So this was pre-existing, and there was some API limitations there. And I was like, I'm just going to do an iframe, way easier. This is like sort of an extension of the other tools, same logic, where they can quickly input a deal and see what the pricing impact for them is. And then eventually I have like a beta here that isn't ready, of building pricing sheets for a customer. So they're going to be able to go in, and this is like fully tablet ready. They can go in on the go. A lot of our people are like knocking door to door, literally going down the street on Main Street of a town, pitching a business right there. So we do have a lot of people who do, you know, a one call close or a close literally, right? They walk in and they sell the merchant right there. So trying to give people the tools to both give a customer information of like, here, you know, generate a pricing sheet and they can just sign right there, but also give the rep a tool to see, again, like what am I looking at in terms of my compensation here?
Yeah, this is amazing. So this is, I mean, this seems quite advanced, just, you know, from my initial impression. And I'm having to remind myself that what we're looking at here is something that you built with Lovable as a non-programmer, according to your needs.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, what I started doing was, again, this is where we started. Like, this tool was the first thing Stan, our CEO, said to me, like, dude, I need a calculator tool that we can give to the rep so they can see how much they're going to make on a deal. So they don't have to text us and say, how much am I getting on this deal? This is where it started. It was like literally just these inputs. And as a result of doing this, I had to put the majority of our compensation business logic into the project already. And when I realized that it understood the business logic, I could just start expanding further from, you know, what are the other things that I want to give to a sales rep, and eventually be able to, you know, our goal is to be able to, when a rep signs up to work with us, they have one place to go, that this is the only place they go. There's like, we use Salesforce. I have like a link out here. Salesforce, if you're listening, please let me iframe your software. They don't let you iframe Salesforce.
I can see why they wouldn't.
Me too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to do that. So yeah, it just expanded from there. And I think it really does have all of our proprietary business logic in there now.
Did you ever think, did you ever imagine that you could make something like this?
Absolutely not. Like I started, I think July 25th or something like that. And 0% thought I could do this.
That's pretty amazing.
I've really seen what it can do and continue to like have moments where I'm like, let's see if it can do this. And then it does it. And like, I'm trying to think of like I built like a superhuman like command bar, and I did this in like 2 prompts.
Wow. That's crazy.
And I just described it the way that I would think about the way that works.
Yeah.
And just see what it said. And like when it didn't look perfect, the first, output it gives, but it worked and it understood what I wanted. And there's zero purpose for that. Like I don't need that in here, but it was just this moment of like me, like I'm an avid superhuman guy and I love that functionality. So I was like, let's see if I can add it. Let's see if it can do it almost as a test.
Yeah.
And it did it.
So what part of this are you most proud of?
That's a great question. Probably either the screen we're looking at right now, which is basically like a sales rep's view into their portfolio. So this is dummy data, but this is going to show like how much have I made historically as a sales rep for the company? What did I make this month? What did I make last month? Like the really basic stuff. And they could get in here and like really see every payment that came out. And I mean, this is not a single person view. They would have just their stuff, but this was something that for us from a business pain point was we were losing sales reps because they couldn't get clear access to it. And at the same time, it was just a waste of time. I was getting a lot of Slack messages of like, what's my bonus going to be on Friday? Or what's my residual going to be this month? And it's just a waste of my time. So I just wanted to get rid of that. And the same is true on the admin. I would say probably I'm in the preview mode. That's why this Google Maps API is not working. This from an admin side, like has begun to solve a really significant amount of our manual processes, both in terms of like communication between us at an executive level of like, hey, there was a deal submitted. Hey, there's a bonus due, that kind of stuff, where the business logic is just there. So me, Stan, our CEO, or our VP of sales could go in here, update like the stage of a deal, right? Like go in, okay, they went live or they entered implementation. That'll get passed on to the rep. They'll see it on their side. They're the owner of that deal. So they'll get a notification being like, oh, my deal went into implementation, or my deal is not yet in implementation. And I should probably call the customer and see why it's not, why haven't they moved on?
So there's a real impact with the thing that you've built. Like people are using it and it's solving problems that you have as well as your customers and clients.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we launched it to our salespeople September 1st or September 2nd. And it was sort of like, this is open beta and we're going to force compliance come in October. We've already had like a couple of our top people buy in and just like put everything in here. And from an admin side, I'm using it every day, and it's like seeing a baby run out into the wild. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's cool. So, as someone that has never done this kind of thing before, like, how do you think of yourself now? And like, how do you feel having solved these problems?
I mean, like I said before, I think I definitely understand software way more than I did before. And it's way less scary in a certain way of like, it's really just a database with like a front end and some buttons that are wired to the database. And a database, like I'm a finance guy, so I understand spreadsheets really well. The moment that I realized a database is just a spreadsheet was like a big eye opener for me. Like it's a way more complex spreadsheet and nested spreadsheets, but like it's just like if this, then that with some spreadsheets.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've already started building like a separate app that's plugged into the same database. That's going to be like a full admin, basically control panel. So like I have this very basic admin thing here. So like I can see teams, I can see like some really simple analytics. I haven't spent the time to build this out because when I realized I could just connect another Lovable project to the same database, I was like, oh, I'll just build a separate tool for me and Stan, for my CEO and I, and we can do everything we need through that. Um, and I would not have felt confident to do that uh, before doing this, right? I'm going to see, I'm going to push that with that. Like I want to plug in our banking APIs, our accounting
Yeah.
APIs, stuff like that.
Well, it's really inspiring and just exciting to see what you've created and to hear about your story. Where do you see this going, just in the next year or a couple of years? I know it's evolving quite rapidly in terms of the technology, and I mean, clearly you're quite an advanced vibe coder, I would say, just based on what I'm looking at. But like, how do you see this evolving?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm close to the point where I'm going to need a real developer or set of developers to like clean it up a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
so that's definitely like before the end of the year, uh, do some cleanup, just like performance optimization stuff. And then again, like I do want to, there's so many, like the company we bought had a lot of manual processes, manual invoice processing, manual payments processing, like so many different pieces that for me, I grew up on the internet. I'm like, this is stupid. This should be done by a computer. Like, there's no reason this needs to be done by a human. And especially now, with some of the stuff that's possible, I just look at it, I'm like, I don't really want to wait for the developers to be free. And this clearly can do way more than I thought it could. And my goal is like by a year from now that all of the core business actions of like sending payments, accounting that goes with those payments in terms of sort of like accounts receivable balance adjustments, like really boring business stuff will be plugged into one database that was built with Lovable and a couple of interfaces that plug into that same interface, a couple of sort of user interfaces that plug into the same backend, and that like I never have to make a manual payment to a sales rep again. Like every Friday, I have to make payments, and I go into our bank and I make the payments.
Mm-hmm.
They have an API. We use Mercury. Love Mercury. Shout out. And uh, again, it's like I might regret it when like there might be some tech debt later as a result of this. There's probably definitely will be some tech debt, but I'm just gonna keep, again, like I said before, just gonna keep going and see how far I can take it.
Well, it's funny you mention one of the first things you mentioned is hiring an actual developer, which I completely understand. Like I have a bunch of projects myself that I know could benefit from having someone that actually codes, look at it and clean it up and help me with certain things are just like, still bugging me and probably not very well optimized. But, in terms of just getting something done and usable, clearly it more than works and is
Yeah.
capable of getting the job done.
Well, and the thing with the developers is like, we do have an in-house team and then some out-of-house team too, like some contractors. And I've shown this to our product manager, project manager, whatever the title is. And he's played around with Lovable a little bit too. And I was saying to him, like, dude, like, you don't need to wait for a developer to be free, right? Like we have 4 or 5 developers working on our product. And I guess I would say from a CFO perspective, they're really expensive. And from a time perspective, they only have so much time, literally. So and we have deadlines that like we need to hit and product we need to release and all those kind of things. Um, so my desire to get a real developer to look at it isn't really because I think they'll make it better. My only concern is security because like we do have business information in here and like
Mm-hmm.
I have a database engineer like look at it and do like a B C D, like where are we in terms of security, and he was like do this and this and we're good. So and for what it's worth, Lovable and like the review security functionality
Yeah, they added that recently.
it got me a B plus from the database engineer.
Okay, that's good.
So, you know, not bad. I can pull it up, but tell me if there's something you
Yeah,
want to
no,
see specifically.
that's good. Yeah, I was actually about to suggest that. So, have you ever used Lovable for any like other personal projects, or are you just mostly focused on the thing you just shared?
Um, I like I said before, like I built some splash pages for like, oh, sort of like imaginary companies, and like playing around with graphics. But other than that, nothing. No.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
understand. So prior and maybe currently, you're in the venture world.
So until this, no, I was in crypto land for
Crypto.
for a long time. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And is there an intersection of your interest in crypto with vibe coding at all?
I would say just like in general, I've always been a nerd and like I want to play around with new technology. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably could be said about a lot of people getting into this stuff. It's just like it's really cool. Like if you like technology, to see what you can do with this stuff is it's pretty wild and it's kind of addicting at the same time in the sense of like to I'm sure you've had the same experience of like you start playing around with it over the course of a year and a half, you've seen how much better it's gotten consistently. So as you see it get better, it's like, oh, I can keep pushing this. What can this do? What can this do? What can this do?
Yeah.
Um, and I think for me, like when I first found out about crypto, there was two camps. There was the camp who thought this is a scam, never buy this stuff, or the camp who were like, this is going to change the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's funny that the truth has sort of ended up somewhere in the middle of like, or at least to me, like, I don't think crypto has succeeded in some of its original intentions. Um, that's an aside. But when I found it, it was like, this is just amazing technology. Like, it's really cool. All the ideas people are coming up with of what you could do with this, et cetera, et cetera. That got me into trading, which is just a great way to make money, which wasn't about interest in the technology. But for me personally, it feels like the same moment of like, this is technology that's fundamentally like altering the angle of like
Mm-hmm.
history in a certain way, like what
Yeah.
is possible. And I want to be, I at least want to know about it, let alone use it.
Totally. Yeah. It's interesting to reflect on the impact that crypto has had over the past decade, or gosh, it's been over a decade since it's been a thing, right? Since 2008. And comparing that to vibe coding. Now, vibe coding is obviously far more new by comparison. Um, but I do see, I do agree that both of them, have the potential for massive impact. And I mean, it is a bit of an apples to oranges kind of comparison. Of course, like they are cutting edge technologies that, have into, huge communities and people interested in them. I think that, I mean, it's hard to say, from about a year into the vibe coding paradigm being a thing, but I would venture to say, and maybe I'm a bit biased because this podcast is called the vibe coding. I venture to say that the impact of AI and software development could have a bigger impact than
I
crypto.
agree completely. Yeah, no. I don't mean to make an equivalency in terms of AI's incomparably more significant.
Yeah, and it's not like, well, I don't know. It's not the best comparison, but I get there. The point that I'm specifically referring to is like there were people like a decade ago when crypto was newer that were like, this is going to change the world. And it certainly has, undoubtedly. I mean, there's what, hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars in crypto, and people have made huge fortunes and lost huge fortunes. And it's a huge community. It's like crypto is not small, obviously, but it's still more or less for like pretty nerdy kind of people. And that's true of vibe coding today also. Yet the trajectory that I see it on and the opportunity for quote unquote normies to use AI to make apps, websites, games, worlds, etc. Like that opportunity is for everyone, is in a way that I don't think that I have a harder time seeing crypto being integrated fully into society unless there's some deeper, governmental
I agree. Yeah.
motivation as part of that, which is also completely could totally happen relatively soon. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I mean, I look, in crypto, everyone thinks their project's going to change the world. And there's a whole swath of people who are obsessed with each project. And the irony to me is the vast majority of people in it are just trying to make money. And the project changing the world is like a face for that. And when I think about that issue in crypto versus exactly what you're saying about vibe coding, like for me to be able to do what I did, I genuinely didn't think I could do it. I thought I would reach the point of either from a security perspective or from a database perspective where it just wouldn't be able to do, like it would just break down, which hasn't happened. And that I couldn't have done that 6 months ago, period. Like it could not do it, at least from my experience back then. So when I think about like, okay, what's it going to be in a year? I think that, yeah, to your point, like everyone up and down the spectrum from like founders or even developers using this down to someone who has never built a thing in their life, who doesn't know even conceptually how software is put together to be able to build stuff. I think that sort of breakthrough moment hasn't happened yet where like someone who's not technologically fluent at all can realize, oh, I can make like a custom thing for my life, custom tuned. But we'll get there. It's inevitable at this point.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I think that Lovable and Bolt are pretty well positioned to be able to offer that kind of experience for people, in terms of like I know absolutely nothing about technology or coding or building apps, and I use this product, and now I have this like perfectly working software experience that fits my needs, solves my problems, etc. That is possible to a certain extent today, but there still are, it's really still really difficult to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's still many bottlenecks, and it does feel quite magical often, and I agree with you. And yet at the same time, I've spent countless hours trying to fix bugs or, make things look and work the way that I want them to, and still, not end up with what I want. But the dream, as far as I see it, is to basically instantly make the perfect thing that you have in your mind.
Yep.
And, to be able to actually do that for real, I think requires a fixing a lot of the parts of the process that are broken, specifically regarding like testing and QAing, and aesthetics to a certain extent, although that is in some ways less important, just because I can endlessly tweak aesthetics, but if something doesn't work, then that's a deeper problem.
For me, like as I started building it, I realized, and I think this is going to be, once they fix this, it'll get us to what you're talking about of like, I realized that like putting in the domain where you're talking about like /boot, like on this page, in this section title, like being very specific about where it needs to look, as well as like putting in console logs, having it add debuggers so I can get logs in, like stuff like that. I knew enough to know that in terms of like the way the AI works, the way the models work, the way websites work. if you don't have that fundamental experience, like it needs to be able to get past some of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
what you're saying will happen.
Precisely. Yeah. I mean, I think clearly the trend of the I guess like the self-serve platforms are very much like becoming more plug and play, especially I don't know if you've seen Replit's Agent 3 came out, I believe last week. I haven't played with it, but
Okay.
it's supposedly solving some pretty critical issues regarding QA and testing that I just mentioned. So I would love to see if that, solves some of my problems. Although I pretty much only use Cursor. I've played around with Bolt and Lovable, and they're both good, but I also find them frustrating by comparison. And you also don't get access to all the models that are becoming available.
Yeah.
The newest models are not always available on the self-serve platforms.
I had this funny moment in probably like mid-August where I was like, I should just be using Cursor. Like, I know about this. I've read about this. Like, I know it's better. And I I had this moment. It's like I feel maybe like very much to the definition, to the name vibe coding, where I was like in the middle of doing something and was like, I'm going to download Cursor when I set this up. And like after 15 minutes of like trying to learn a new piece of software, I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm just going to go back to working on
Yeah, if it
Lovable
works
because
for
it's
you.
working.
Yeah, if it works well for you, there's no reason to change it. But if there's like if you're having a frustrating experience, then
I know that it's better in a lot of ways. I've definitely like bought in with love. They got their hooks in me, both because of how deep I've gone into building this. And then I found their customer service to be extremely good. Like the support to be very, very good. So that's kept me around for sure.
if you wanted to, though, do they even have like GitHub support? Like, are you able to
They do,
export
yeah.
it?
I have it.
Okay.
I have it on GitHub, and every push, every change gets pushed
Yeah.
to GitHub right away.
Okay. So it sounds like Lovable works pretty well I mean, you clearly it worked well enough to make what you just showed us.
Yeah. I mean, look, I know that the sort of like next level for me, if I want to like keep going in vibe coding, I do have to just bite the bullet and go to Cursor because it is better. To your point about like different models and being able to choose the model, there's definitely moments I've had with Lovable where I'm like, is it still using GPT-5? I don't know. Like it gets not as smart for an hour for some reason. And I don't know if they're throttling my credits or like, who knows.
Yeah, there's got to be. I want someone to come up with a term for that. The perception that the models are getting stupider. Because I see that posted a lot online, and it's probably a thing. I mean, it's definitely something people talk about, but I don't know if it's like. I mean, certainly it could be related to the context window within a chat, but it seems like it's a more pervasive issue than just the context window.
I
It's kind
I
of
want
funny.
Lovable to add like a visibility into what's in memory and like fixed memory, because I from what I can see from the answers I get, it feels like it's not actually dumber. It just forgot stuff and it
Yeah,
has to
that's
learn it
precisely.
again, you know?
Yeah, that's precisely the context window. Within a certain chat, it can only fit so much information
Sure.
in one go. So
It's
when you
funny. I've had moments where I've gone to GitHub, downloaded the whole code base, and then uploaded it directly to GPT and said, just like unpack this whole thing.
Mhm.
And why can't I can't get Lovable to fix this thing. And GPT directly through like the ChatGPT interface can figure it out in a way that Lovable's using GPT-5, but whatever their prompt instructions are, their master prompt in the back end can't figure it out in the same way that just using the open model would.
Yeah, it's interesting. So for the past month or so, I've been pretty much only using um, GPT-5 in the Codex IDE plugin,
Yeah.
and that's worked really well. And now GPT-5 Codex became available as of, I believe, last week.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's available in Lovable yet. I'm sure it will be at some point, but that's the other thing is like, yeah, when a new model comes out, it's just going to take time for Lovable to
Yeah.
integrate.
They added
And
GPT-5 like the day it came out. They said they
true.
were adding it. Um,
Yeah.
and it definitely did. it was a good timing for me. It came out like right at the beginning of August or something like that, right? And I was getting deep into this, and I was like, perfect, dude, I need more.
Yeah, I would recommend, just with another project, just anything, just something small, just to play with it. Specifically, yeah, the Codex plugin for Cursor. You can use it for VS Code or any other IDE that supports that. But it's really good. It's pretty well designed, intuitive, easy, and it more or less offers the same experience. Maybe not exactly the same, but more or less a similar experience to Lovable or Bolt. And it generally works.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to like expand the sort of portfolio of tools, if you will. For me, I, I'm sure a lot of engineers would laugh at me for saying this, but like when we actually released the product to our, our users, our sales reps, I knew that you put 25 people on something, some bugs are going to pop up. And I knew there would be things that they asked for that I didn't think about, stuff like that. Um, but I've reached a point now where I'm like, I'm kind of sick of working on it. Like, I don't want to fix things anymore. But I have to because there's people using it. Um, and I've
Yeah.
actually had some of our developers like laugh at me saying that of like, yeah, I empathize with you. I'm exhausted of working on this thing. Um, I think like historically, I'd have to go check the most recent number. I think I've done like 1,500 prompts, something like that
Nice.
on that project. And yeah, I'm sick of it. I'm really sick of it, but it's good.
Well, it's funny, earlier you mentioned it's like addicting, and I feel very similarly. There's something really fun about just continuously improving something, and then there's the challenge of it also that it's not perfect. So
Yeah.
in a weird way, like I definitely would prefer this, like, to be more fast and efficient with what I want to create. But at the same time, when something doesn't work or doesn't look like how I want it to, but then I get to fix it, it's satisfying to fix something that's broken.
Yep.
So it's an interesting like thing to consider, right? Because as I was saying, that the dream is to perfectly and quickly produce some piece of software. But honestly, if that were possible, if and or rather when that becomes possible, because it certainly is possible, when that becomes possible, it'll be kind of like, when you make an AI generated image or video, where it's a beautiful piece of art, but it's just kind of empty because it was made so fast, and you really didn't have a whole lot of, uh,
Yep.
you didn't really do much to make it, and I think at least that's just off the bat, right? Just to start, and certainly you could keep massaging and workshopping it and making it more your own. But there is some part of like the artistic and creative expression requiring you to be in a more of like an in-depth conversation with the AI versus like a one shot.
I think a lot about like what you were just saying makes me think like I'm obviously thinking about it from within a business case, not a personal case. Because that's like what how I've immersed myself, like the angle I've immersed myself in. I honestly I want to build like and someone will do it. It's a lot of people are trying to do it, like almost like a chief strategy officer in the middle of a company that has access to everything, which a lot of people are doing already in terms of like integrating Drive, integrating these different data sources, but like for it to actually be proactive in the sense
Mm.
of making actions, uh, making investments. I mean, you can tie in a lot of things and, um, not just giving it the ability to surface insights for the customer or insights for you as a manager or as an executive, but giving it some leash to go and take actions. And from a perspective of vibe coding, like I would love to eventually, like I imagine a lower down employee, a operations employer, implementations employee being able to they have their chat window and they have a problem that they have to solve for the company. And that chat window makes them that mini app, to your point of like, it just makes the app the way you would describe. This would make the app for someone without them even having to say what they want, right? That the AI can see all the business logic and say, this is the best way for you to think about this or train this to a customer or et cetera, and have it be proactively doing that. I think we're a couple of years away from that, but I hope someone builds that.
It's inevitable. Yeah. It reminds me of Elon Musk. He's creating Macro Hard. Have you heard of this?
No.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to keep that name, but it's like, obviously a pun on Microsoft. And the premise is super interesting. It's like they want to simulate Microsoft as a company using AI. So precisely what that means and how that functions, I'm not totally sure, but I think that the idea is, you have, okay, like you can use AI to make software, but what about the company itself?
Yeah.
And I think should that be successful, will become a huge inspiration and like a whole industry. If that's, I don't even know if industry is quite the right word, or like paradigm, I suppose, for business, where you just, maybe it's not like 100% AI, but like mostly AI, and like inevitably you would still need humans to do some things, but if that works and it is able to build product and market and do QA and iteratively improve the product according to feedback, like you can think of all the tasks and responsibilities that humans do within a company, theoretically speaking, an AI could also do. And then it's like, well, like who's making the money? It becomes very strange and interesting, and also exciting. Like I think it's like this idea of like a self-driving business, in the same way that you have a self-driving car, is super compelling. And if it's possible, people will do it. And it's kind of like, those crypto trading bots where they're not like infinite money printing machines, but they're like approximating them if they're done right, potentially.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think our industry is like a really good case study for what you're saying. At least it is for me. And that's what I'm trying to remind myself of. Like, payroll is a historically heavy, human dominant business to begin with, even for, I won't name names, but like the sort of like more startup modern payroll solutions that came out, past like 10 years, Gusto, Rippling, like those sorts, they have huge operations teams and huge implementation and support teams across US, international, different, you have tax, you have HR, you have all these different departments. And it's a really cumbersome customer experience, but it's also really expensive for the company to operate. And it's this tricky moment where for our customers, like anything payments, tax related, people want to be talking to a person. If you're telling them, your social security number, you're talking about business information. So I'm looking at it from the perspective of what happens if you build, this kind of really proactive, smart brain for your business, and you give that to your human employees. Does that mean you have to hire less human employees? Does it make them more efficient and they can just do more work? And then I want to hire the same amount of people. I just want them to be more efficient. And not even from a perspective of like bottom line efficiency, but from a perspective of like, okay, we had 4 developers before, they can build X. What happens if they all start building on Lovable? We can build more product, or we can build better product, or those kind of questions. There's obviously a narrative around like AI is going to replace jobs, which it will inevitably, but I actually see it as a way for a lot of new jobs to be made. And like a lot of people, I mean, look at me, I didn't know how to code.
Right.
there's new skills people can add to their Swiss Army knife, so to speak. And that's all the way from like founder, executive level down to entry level position. Employee. People are just like, you just have more information.
Yeah.
I like last things, like I think a lot about like when I was a kid, I was in like second grade. We had to do a project on like an animal, and I chose a cheetah. And I had to go and look up a cheetah in the encyclopedia. And there was like a half a page section with one picture of a cheetah talking about like the key facts, right? Then we went to internet, Wikipedia, all these things. If you have all this information available to you, but you still have to know how to sort, how to think through the different sections, et cetera, et cetera. Not that that's that difficult, but it is a barrier to entry. And now, like I think about like, I don't have kids yet. When I have kids, when they have that project and they want to learn about cheetahs, they have infinite information about cheetahs, pictures, videos. Now all that information consolidated into one place, GPT, Claude, whichever one you want to use, where there's obviously a lot of negatives to it, but I just think about like the what's that gonna do for us, for people to be able to have access to that much information. I don't know if our brains are ready for it, but
Well, that's why we need
some cool
the
stuff
brain.
could come out of
That's
it.
why people think they need brain chips in the brain to keep up with the AI, which is I don't agree with, but I can
I saw a clip.
understand.
I saw a clip of I can't remember his name, the company that just got bought by Meta, Alex something. The like training data company.
Oh, Scale.
Scale, yeah. So
yeah, Alexander Wang.
I saw a clip of him talking about like how he's waiting to have kids until they have infant level Neuralink, because he thinks that that will have that, and that it, neuroplasticity is at its highest when you're an infant. So he's like hypothesizing around what's going to happen when a baby has a Neuralink with ChatGPT plugged into it. And it's crazy to think about, but he's pulling on this thread, and he's like, that kid will be a superhuman compared to even a 40-year-old or a 30-year-old or a 20-year-old who gets that, because it's like the Matrix when it's like, I want to learn Kung Fu.
Oh God. Yeah. Was his point that he actually is holding off on having kids
I think so. I would have to go and find the clip. I'm sure. Okay. I mean, he's being a little facetious, but
sure.
It's on the table.
I can see how someone like that at that age would make that point in his position. But yeah, I mean, the prospect of a chip in the brain at any age is concerning for me, especially. Yeah. I mean, as a thought experiment, that's a good one for sure, for babies. But yeah, that's just profoundly
scary,
disturbing.
Scary.
I hope, whenever the chip in the brain thing becomes possible, that there's going to be a minimum age of consent for that. And I definitely would not support kids having that kind of technology. I mean, if you want to go get that as an adult, okay.
I'm with you. I'm with you, man. But I had never, that was like a sort of like, when I saw that clip, you asked me before, do I listen to podcasts? I don't that much, but this was like a podcast clip I saw on Instagram, and he's talking about that. And I was like, that's really crazy and scary, but like the way we're going, it's probably happening. Like we can't stop that now.
Have you seen any of the latest Neuralink videos?
The last one I remember seeing, this was a couple months ago, was like a dude playing Call of Duty with it, or a dude playing something with it.
Yeah.
And being way better than, input lag.
Yeah. Yeah. The last video that I saw was, I think from a couple months ago, where they were playing a group of the people that had the surgery, which was like, I don't know, 8 of them or something. They were playing Mario Kart with their minds, which was just like so insane. They're like doing telepathic Mario Kart, like for real, and it works. Now, I mean, does it work as well of like, you had a controller, maybe not, but the fact that they were actually able to play it is pretty profound. So
It's crazy.
it's always been something that I've had mixed feelings about. I think at like just from a pure scientific and technological perspective, it's revolutionary. It's probably the most advanced thing I'm familiar with that is like
Yeah.
public facing, and there's probably like private stuff that, would be crazy too. But from like what, us on the outside can see, like that is like pretty damn cutting edge. Yet at the same time, if it becomes the kind of thing where um it's like becomes fashionable, like outside of just like fixing a broken part of your body, like for paraplegics, for example, like because they're starting with fixing people with like
Yeah.
serious issues, right? They can't move their body or they're blind. Like amazing, incredible. Like they're gonna
Yeah.
make a device where like blind people can see using
It's
the
insane.
same thing. Is like, wow, that's dope. But yeah, if it becomes like kind of like the Meta Ray-Bans, like, oh, just put on these glasses. Now it's a bit different, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how that evolves.
I have this feeling of like there's always a tipping point with technology. Like the vast majority of people thought the iPhone was done when they first announced it. I'm never going to use that. Right. And there's these stacking. I've had this recently with VR, AR, where I had played around with like Meta, like Quest or whatever it's called a couple years ago. And like, okay, this is cool. And like 2-3 months ago, I got a call from a coworker, unrelated. And I was like, what's up? And he's like, I'm just chilling in the Vision Pro right now. And was explaining to me like, yeah, and in front of my desktop, I have like 4 virtual monitors next to me in the AR. And I had been thinking about getting a new monitor. I haven't bought the Vision yet because I want to wait for the second generation. But like, I had this moment in my head where I was like, that's a better buy than buying another monitor. Like it's more expensive, but it's a better investment in the long term. And that was that tipping point for me. Right. So it's like with the Neuralink, with all these things, they're just like, it's already out in the open, and it's like chaos theory now to me. Like it's just out there, and we'll see where it bounces.
Yeah, the promise of the Vision Pro is that's definitely one of the more compelling use cases, is to replace, your super expensive monitor with another super expensive monitor that's
Yeah,
attached
that's really
attached
heavy
to
on
your
your face.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it works. It's very cool. It's not something, I have one, and it's something I was, and to a certain extent still am, a huge advocate of. I haven't been as focused on it recently, but for the year from when it came out, I was super hyped on it, and it's an incredible piece of technology. Yet it had the critical flaw is that it's too heavy, and even if you get a third party strap that improves the weight distribution, it's still too heavy.
I'm wearing contacts right now, but
Yeah.
I wear glasses normally. I saw the Meta glasses thing last week,
Mhm.
and was really disappointed to see that like it's just this little screen in the corner. Like I'm fully ready for the contact lens AR. Like give it to me. I'm fully ready. I'm already wearing them every day. Um, so I was like, I had the efficiency tipping point, I guess is what I try to mean, of like, I had the aha moment of like, this technology could improve my life in XYZ way. But it's,
Yeah.
to your point, still really heavy, cumbersome, all these different things. So it's like,
Yeah.
we need time.
It's an incredible piece of technology to watch movies or TV shows by yourself.
Yeah. That's what I've
But
heard.
but the interesting kind of contrast to that is the spatial personas are the most revolutionary and underutilized aspect of it, which allows you to have a spatial FaceTime with someone else, where you basically can project a hologram of your
It's
friend or
crazy.
someone else into your room or into another environment. So just like we're talking now over Riverside with video chat, but you look like you're a completely flat person to me on a
Mhm.
screen. With spatial personas, I can have a fully 3D lifelike hologram of you and vice versa in my room as if you were there, and then we can look at a web page, we can watch a movie, we can look at a 3D model, we can open up any app
Yeah.
together and experience it together. It's amazing. It's phenomenal, but the user base for the device is so small that it's not like you can just call up your regular, your other
Sure.
friend to go and do it. And you're not wearing it all the time. So it's just not as practical as like calling a friend on your phone or a computer. But it does work. And
Yeah.
they've recently improved it with the Vision OS 26. And the personas are really quite lifelike. It's amazing.
Is it uncanny valley territory where it's like,
you know, no. I would argue that even in the first version of it, which was like the beta, where it was creepier than how it looks today, even that the older version, they've improved it, I think, twice actually since the first version. The first it for me, I was never bothered by it. I mean, it was always kind of like you're interacting with a ghostly avatar version of the person, but all the people complaining about it or like making fun of it were watching a video
sure, not
on
experiencing
social
it.
media, not experiencing it in 3D from your perspective, and that makes all the difference. So if you ever have the opportunity to try that, I and for anyone listening or watching, I would definitely recommend that, because it is definitely a highlight of the Vision Pro experience, and just something that isn't really talked about much because it's just super niche. But when it becomes more, I guess, affordable, lighter, cheaper, that kind of thing, like more people will have it theoretically, and I can see it just becoming the new way of communicating, because it's easily the best telepresence experience that I've had.
I mean, look, I'm more excited. Like I want to buy one more than 2 minutes ago. So you should get a finder's feed for Apple.
Okay,
Like
perfect.
I'm like a big believer in like the can, it's like the can has been opened. It's Pandora's box on all this stuff. And like, it's now bigger than any of us. So it's like, it's going to keep going. And it's like what you're saying of like, I don't think about it if it gets cheaper, if it gets, et cetera. It's like, just look at history. It's like efficient. It will get more efficient.
Yeah.
It will get cheaper.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. You look at like the iPhone Air thing, the Meta glasses, like I've seen a lot of people talking online about like the iPhone Air, and it's like just them forcing their suppliers to make things smaller. So when eventually they do the glasses, they've like really refined getting those things really small.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the natural like progression of it. I just feel like we're along for the ride. Like all humans.
I have one here.
Oh, what do you think?
Yeah, it's great. I'm trialing it right now because I couldn't decide between this one and I've always gone with the Pro Max, which is,
me too.
The beefy tank of the iPhone world, which is amazing and super capable and great. But certainly the biggest downside to the Pro Max has always been just how heavy and large it is in the pocket and the hand. And so the Air is the complete opposite of that. So it is remarkably thin and light, as you can imagine.
What's the battery life like?
The whole point. It's fine. I mean, I haven't had any problems with it, but I haven't also like pushed it. And when you get a new phone, the battery is the best it'll ever be. So a year from now, when it's time to potentially, upgrade, the battery inevitably degrades, and they sell the like external battery pack for this, which I might get if I keep it. But I mean, I haven't had any issues with it. I would say so far the bigger downside for sure is the lack of the other cameras, and that's something that like I genuinely love about the Pro Max is the telephoto camera, and you can get some really beautiful photos with that if you know how to use it well, and it just doesn't exist on the Air, which, oh well, I mean there are trade-offs, and I'm very looking forward to the Fold, which should come out next year, and that will be definitely something that I plan on getting.
Yeah, I like keep up with the rumors. I've had like the same 14 Pro Max for like whatever since that came out. I used to
Oh my
be, I
gosh,
was like,
2 years.
I was the guy, no, three. I think we're going on three. I was the guy who always
Yeah.
bought a new phone like every year. And both a combination of like, I don't really need to spend this money anymore, like just getting more mature, but also they stopped being as
Hmm.
impressive. Like the updates became much more iterative. And this
Yeah.
is the first time, partially because the back of my phone is completely shattered and it's time for a new one. But
Uh,
also just, it's like, I know that the jump between 14 and whichever one I get now will be significant enough for me to make me feel like this was worth it.
yeah. Well, see, you're more mature than I am. See, I got on the iPhone upgrade program
Yeah, I saw that.
whenever like a couple of years ago, and through that, it's always like it's a brilliant financial move on Apple's part because it's like, oh, it's the same monthly fee every month, but I get a better phone. But yet at the same time, of course, you're extending your loan out, so you're still effectively just getting a new phone, but you're paying for it on a smaller monthly basis, which is cool if you like, having the new thing. But you're totally right in that, like, the difference between the 14, the 15, the 16, and the 17 is like it's
It's
not
not that
particularly.
significant.
No,
Yeah.
it's not very significant.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that, I don't know, you got to try to put yourself in the shoes of Apple, where it's like, I don't know if they still are the most expensive, most valued company or they're number two or whatever. I haven't checked, but like, if you're the king, do you need to reinvent the wheel? Right? Like everyone's
No,
going to buy the iPhone, right?
no, of
Like
course.
every year. So I just look at them like, yeah, it's going to be like 45% faster than the 14 that I had now. Like, all right, take my money. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, they always just need to have like a couple things that could potentially justify someone upgrading, and that's just the name of the game. And I will say that I think that this year overall, between the regular iPhone and the Air and the Pro and Pro Max, like they've done a pretty good job in like offering like a pretty solid set of options. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I definitely feel the um just the lack of excitement, generally speaking, about iPhones and like Apple. I mean, I love Apple and I followed them for a long time, but it's like, okay, cool, you've added a couple of new things. It's like they've sort of run out of meaningful things to add to it, and that maybe there's going to be a new paradigm with the foldable and with the Vision Pro and the glasses and all that, but those will just take more time.
Yeah. I will call myself an Apple fanboy going back many years. And this year I'm gonna buy the new phone. The software is pretty disappointing to me. I gotta be honest.
Really?
Especially that on the Mac specifically, like the
Uh-huh.
Tahoe or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
um, it was not ready. Like it's just not ready. Like there's like both a combination of like third party apps needing to update that creates
Mm.
these inconsistencies, like corners are different in certain places that just bother my symmetry, love for symmetry and those kind of things. But also just like I've had really weird bugs and I'm like, I work 12 hours a day on this computer. I need this to work. And I was
Yeah.
like, I shouldn't have done the update, but it's
Uh,
like, come on, guys. Just like,
that's interesting.
don't.
So I've been on the beta for both iOS and Mac OS for probably 2 months or so, 2 or 3 months. So for a while, I haven't had any significant stability issues. So, but I know what you mean. I know that's frustrating, especially if you rely on well, as we all do, rely on our devices.
Yeah.
I think that the aesthetics of it are polarizing. I
I
like
think it's
it,
really cool.
but yeah, it's like there is a question of like, was it necessary? It's like a similar,
Yeah.
it's like what I was just saying with like the iterative upgrades to the iPhone, like to the hardware itself. It's like, year by year, they have to basically justify their own existence because that's just what companies financially need to do
Yeah.
to keep
There's
going.
this trap
And
though, I think, where I saw this on Twitter the other day of like someone being like, everyone wants Apple to make new stuff.
Right.
And then they didn't make the physical, like the Air, that aside, but like they finally did a new thing
Right.
and they rehauled the visuals of a lot of their software. And now everyone's like pissed off that they changed things. So it's like, we gotta pick our side, you know? And, I see a lot of this stuff on the iPhone, like the liquid glass stuff is really, really cool. And a lot of that, it's not finished. For me, it doesn't look finished. There's these little moments where it's like the transparency is weird and you can't see what you're trying to see, that kind of stuff. But I think it's really cool on the iPhone.
I
I'm really
agree. I
excited
like
for
it.
them to do like, I need them to do the full zero bevel screen.
Oh,
Like
yeah. Well,
that's the thing that's really going to get me excited.
supposedly that's what they're working on for the iPhone 20 or what the 20th anniversary. I don't think it'll be called the iPhone 20 actually, but the next one supposedly, who knows, is it'll be an all screen situation.
Yeah,
which
no
is
dynamic island, just do full bleed screen. That's really what I want.
Yeah, I remember when the iPhone 10 came out, and that was like so exciting when they got rid of that was like the last big like oh my god kind of feeling with an iPhone. And now the Air to a certain extent, but it's basically the same thing, just thinner and lighter. So like you can use your imagination. It's like
I
it's
remember
the
when
iPhone.
the 10 came out, I agree with exactly what you're saying. And like, it was like right when I started like making good money for myself as like a young adult. I was like, I'm gonna go buy myself a new iPhone, and like went to the Williamsburg Apple store. And I remember being like, having that childish wonder, like feeling of like, this is so cool to see this. And I don't think I've had that. I've had it from AI a lot of times, but I haven't had it from Apple in a while.
Yeah. I mean, I felt that way with the Vision Pro when they announced it, and it is an amazing piece of technology, but it's still, I don't know, it's not maybe what I had. I mean, I guess they made the product that I had hoped for, but it still has issues. And it is funny, like there's just these expectations that um have we have that have been instilled within us because of their own success and like how amazing some of their products have been, that like now we just want that all the time, which is like
Yeah.
completely unrealistic. And what we end up getting is like a couple small things every year.
Yeah.
um but if you zoom out and you like look at um the first iPhone to what we have today, it's just like crazy
No, it's insane.
better.
What I can't remember is a different podcast clip that I saw at some point a year and a half ago that got stuck in my head of like, this guy was like a robotics philosopher or whatever, talking about like, there's all these people, the vast majority of people are like back to the Neuralink thing. I'd never do that. I'd never put a thing in my brain. I don't want that. But our phones are attached to us basically. And for the vast majority of people, our lives operate through these things. And like, where's the line? Like, yeah, it's not attached to you, but it is part of your being at a certain point in terms of all of your personal information, your relationships, your access to the world, your job, all of these things that he was arguing it kind of is already part of your body and part of your being. And like, it's a
Yeah,
utility. Having a phone
I
at this point is kind of a utility.
I get the point, but the difference there is the word kind of.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it's sure, it's kind of like your being or like part of your body, but it's not. It's a device that exists outside of you.
That exists outside of you. I guess for me, the takeaway is like, it's not surprising to me that we're not having these crazy sort of like explosive upgrades to phones anymore, because it's like, it's very similar to our business in a certain way where it's like, if you want to be a modern business, you have to have payments, credit card processing. Like, it's a commodity. It's an assumed
Right.
need.
Yeah.
And for the vast majority of people across the planet, phones are that way, whether it's a low, like regardless of price point, like having a smartphone is your access to the world in a certain way.
Totally. Yeah. And so, I mean, clearly, the glasses are being positioned as the next paradigm, at least within Meta. And
Yeah.
it seems likely that Apple will have their own version of that, and who knows what those will look like. But at least we can, for sure talk about what Meta is offering. And I'm interested to try it. I think the big breakthrough there is the neural wristband, which lets you
Yeah.
control it without having to
Super
use
cool.
camera tracking. So I think that's quite clever and innovative. Yet I think the downside to that potentially is like, okay, now you have to wear this band all day, and if you already wear a watch, then now you're wearing two bands, which is kind of awkward, and you're also needing to wear the band all the time in order to use the glasses at all. So like you basically just have to be wearing it all day if you ever want to control the glasses,
Yeah.
which is I guess compared to like a camera tracking based solution is the downside, right? Like with Vision Pro, you don't have to wear anything on your hands, and the hand tracking works pretty well. But of course, the cameras and the battery and compute required to do that is the huge thing. So it's like all these products have trade offs. And I think the neural thing is quite clever, but it's like, I'm just not in the moment of, obviously it's really early because it's not out yet, but like, I'm not convinced that it's going to be something people will want to wear all the time. I don't know. I could be totally wrong about that, but I'm
For
just not.
me, I just think about like, I have to wear glasses because I can't see well and
Mhm.
I don't like wearing glasses. I'd rather wear contacts, right? So, because it's more, you just see better, right? But that's about glasses and seeing. But it's just like, if you're not someone who has to wear glasses,
Mm,
I think there's a lot of people, oh, it's really cool to wear glasses. I want to wear glasses, but like,
right.
it's not something you want to do all day, every day. It's not as nice as not wearing glasses. So I, I think there's a lot of people who will get it because it's cool. It's really hard for me to imagine someone like wearing that all day.
Right. It's a good point. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a very basic point that a lot of people in the AR VR industry miss or don't want to acknowledge, or is just simply not talked about, which is like the technology can be perfect and amazing, but at the end of the day, it's still something that you put on your face and put over your eyes and head.
Yeah.
And even if it was super, super light, it's still like you're going to have to offer an experience that is truly magical, revolutionary, like offering you like, I don't know, super intelligence for example, like if it were to like literally like give you super intelligence, whatever that means to you. I'm not even going to define that. Like if you got super intelligence from these glasses, like that's okay. Maybe you'd
It's
be
worth
willing to
it.
wear it
Yeah.
all. Yeah. Maybe you'd be willing to wear it all day, but could you also get that from like the next gen version of AirPods with more cameras and whatever compute in them? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder a lot with like Facebook, like, or with Meta, like they bought Oculus whenever that was 8 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe longer. And like, they're kind of still justifying the acquisition. Like they spent, they spent a ton of money on it and they need to figure out something to do with it. And I just look at it, it's like, it's really cool technology, but it's not like, I don't know. I was around a friend of ours had, poor him, he bought it like a month ago or like a month and a half ago. And then they released a new one. But like we were out and he had it and like we were in an art gallery and he like put it on to take a picture of us. And it's just kind of awkward. Like the moment of like, oh, I'm going to put on my Meta glasses. Like, but he doesn't wear glasses and doesn't need them to see. Like in our brain, semantically, we see someone wearing glasses and associate a
Right.
certain functionality, whether it's sunglasses, whatever. And it's like, I think you're absolutely right that like within that world, it's kind of a cottage industry right now. Like only really interested people are interested in it. And it
Mhm.
hasn't broken out to quote unquote normies. And it's the same problem that crypto ran into of like the people using it are the people who are really into it and like
Right. Right.
can't see outside of their own interest, to see like, oh, pick an example, like secret keys or like all these different things are really scary for normal people. So
Mhm.
that's going to prevent adoption. I think the glasses are the same way. I just need someone to make the contacts. Again, I'm ready for the contacts.
Yeah, well, now I mean, that's like decades away. I mean, I think
I
that'll
know. Yeah.
exist at some point. But yeah, we're just getting started with the glasses right now. Yeah, you said like justifying the acquisition, which I think is certainly true to a certain extent, but I also think that they acquired Oculus because they genuinely believe that AR,
Yeah,
VR is the future of technology, and thus social networks and their whole company and business. So, and I mean, you can see that with everything they've done for the past, 10 years is walking in that
absolutely.
direction, whether you agree with that or not. But like, that's what I think, that's the future that they're trying to create, the metaverse, and, um, now with the AI glasses. And I think there's some of it that's quite cool. And I give them a lot of credit for like really championing that for so long when basically no other major tech company
Has done
did.
it.
And
Yeah.
now Apple got into the game a couple of years ago. So
I can't remember the name of Meta's crypto project. They tried to do like a stable coin.
DM.
DM, yeah. And I
Yeah.
remember uh when that was happening, like it was really exciting within the crypto communities that they were validating crypto at that scale. That was like late 2019, 2020
Mm-hmm.
when they first came out with it or like announced it. And I don't think it ever happened, but like they
No.
they've definitely like continued to push those kind of things, which I think just on the whole is for the good. That gave a lot of legitimacy to crypto at a certain point. Like I remember in the industry that was a big sort of turning point, and the price exploded soon thereafter.
Yeah.
Not just because of that, but there was sort of a moment that happened that they were a part of.
Yeah, I remember. I forget what there was two names for it because they changed their name, and they
Yeah,
tried to make it happen, but it was amusing to watch that go down because the United States government was like, "No, Facebook, you're not going to make a competitor to the
yeah.
dollar."
I mean, that's the thing that crypto is always going to run into is like, uh, there's no way that any government in the world is just going to like all the crypto people are like, oh, well, yeah, the way we fix this problem is we just replace Swift and US wires. And it's like, guys, that's never going to happen. Like, it's not realistic. And that's kept so much of, to me, in my mind, so much of what crypto could have done. It's just it was so ideological that it prevented people from like accepting, yeah, we got to play ball with like FinCEN and like the Department of Treasury. We're not going to beat them at their own game. Um,
Yeah, well,
yeah, I
it's
don't know.
interesting, and now you see, the Trump administration coming or like really supporting crypto in a way that no other administration has, and how that'll play out, I'm really not sure, but it seems like it's given a lot more legitimacy to that space.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's funny for me. I went from, uh, glued to Twitter, glued to charts every day for like almost 10 years of my life, 8 years,
Wow.
something, uh, to not paying attention to it at all. Um, like I really made a choice to walk away from it for a variety of different reasons. The most of which are just like quality of life of like, yeah, you can make a lot of money being a crypto trader, but like it's 24/7, it's 365, it's extremely volatile, all the things that are known about it. And I was just sort of like, I remember when I decided to do that, my mom asked me like, do you know what you want to do next? And I remember saying to her, like, I don't really know category wise, but I just want to be part of something that's like with a team of people. Like I want to be something bigger than myself. And my life previously was just like sitting at the computer, trading. You're doing it just for yourself to like get more Mario coins on the screen. And there's no real point of it. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
That
I mean,
sounds
that's
kind
the
of
only way you can
empty.
succeed. Well,
Jeez.
that's the way I see it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's the only way you can be successful as a trader is to like disconnect yourself from the value of the numbers you see on the screen, because that's how you get freaked out and go like, oh, I just lost fill in the
Yeah,
blank.
I've been
The
there.
really successful traders, it's just a number on a screen. You have to divorce yourself from the reality of it.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm very grateful for that now. I think my dopamine receptors are a little fried from so much crypto trading because it's like, it takes a lot to shake me now. Uh,
I've been there, but
So
definitely not to the extent that I'm sure you have in your years of experience. But I know what you mean.
yeah, so I mean, in short, the part of the reason I walked away was like I had a fund with a partner of mine, and we are doing very well, and FTX happened, and we had a good portion of our fund on FTX. Uh, Ironically,
Wow.
shorting the market, we were like short from like 40,000, and
Wow.
was following all of our models. Like we were dead on in terms of what was going to happen, but we didn't realize our exchange would be the catalyst for what
No
happened.
way.
Yeah, and I lost a crazy amount of money in the blink of an eye, and lost a lot of investor money too, which is horrible. I had to make some really hard phone calls,
Wow.
and I was at a point where I was like, I I already wasn't having fun doing it, and then that happened, and I was sort of like, throw my hands up. This is kind of a blessing in disguise, and I just got to take this one on the chin and figure out what to do next.
Wow. I can't imagine that. I remember when that happened, it was pretty obviously huge international news. But
It was a
f-
nightmare. Yeah.
yeah, I mean for you to be personally involved in that way is pretty awful.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, like, I had been on phone calls with that guy. Like, I knew people who worked there, not like on a one by one basis, but like, like five, six people on a call, and he's
Yeah.
sitting there playing League of Legends or whatever. Um,
Oh my God.
like, I knew people who worked there and knew people who were very close to that world, and it was a total about face of what the impression was, even from like really only the inner circle of people knew, I think, what was going on. Because even some of the people that I worked with or communicated with had no idea. I mean, it was really presented as this is the best place to be trading.
Right.
Um, and from a lot of trader, from a sort of like product feature, the product they offered to traders, it was a great product in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Um, and they did innovate within that space, but
Wow.
like, yeah, it's a fraud.
What the hell, man? Really
Yeah,
such
it's
a
crazy.
just a horrible, terrible situation. Um
Yeah, it's I still, it's funny because I definitely had a lot more crypto than I do now, and I have a lot of people text me now going like, "Damn, you see Bitcoin is 100,000. You told me to buy Bitcoin all these years ago," and like it actually kind of annoys me now because I'm like, yeah, I got fucking robbed. Excuse my French, but like, you know, and it's just the game. Like there's
yeah.
a concept within trading of higher, if a market's going up, higher highs, higher lows, and it trends like this. And the same is true in a downtrending market. I think about like your own success that same way too, of like, you're going to
Mhm.
have huge failures. And as long as the next peak is higher than your previous peak, you're, you're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, I can see in a situation like that where, there's certainly like always room for learning, but also it just like it's out of your control. Like you could not like, from everything that you could tell about the service, it was a legitimate business. And then you discover shenanigans were happening
I
and
mean, past that, the irony was when you trade as an institution, the know your customer, anti-money laundering compliance stuff is much more stringent. And their compliance process was actually the most stringent of any that I did, even with compared to like a US based Coinbase or Kraken
yeah.
or those kind of exchanges. They actually, FTX had the most robust compliance that there
Wow.
was. So it was like all indicators were this place is super legit,
Wow.
etc.
Yeah, and I can see how after that you're like I'm done with this.
Yeah. And look, for me, it was like, there's been a lot of those types of events in crypto over its lifespan. Uh, like Bitfinex got hacked. There was the DAO
Yeah.
hack with Ethereum. There was all these different big events.
Yeah.
And I had dodged every single one of them up until that point. And so, yeah, for me, it was just like, this is not I don't want to base my future on an industry where this is like part of the game, that there's this historic fraud is
Yeah,
like,
I get that.
invest in that.
That seems very reasonable. Well, it seems like you're in a better place now. Vibe
Much
coding,
better. Yeah.
vibe coding. You're away into a new fortune.
Yeah. And that's the idea. For me, it's like, dude, I like, of course, a lot of people are, you're in business to make money. It's the point at the end of the day. The vibe coding thing has like really pivoted for me personally. Like, I'm making a really big push within our company to choose like, what does a company look like in 5 years? Very different than what a company looks like now. And that goal for myself and for my business, our business, would not have become as prevalent for me if Lovable wasn't able to do this thing for me. Cause it's like the writing's on the wall. Like, how much better is this than it was 6 months ago? What's it going to do in a year? It doesn't take a genius to look at the scatter plot of what's happening and go like, we got to get on board.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I feel the exact same way. I mean, the difference between the cursor when I played with it for the first time over a year ago versus today, it's just completely different experience. Way, way more effective at doing what I needed to do. So, you know, you can imagine that those same trends will continue, then where we'll be a year from now, et cetera, will continue to be just that much better.
Yeah. I mean, it seems there's too much to keep up with. Like, I follow like a couple newsletters of like, there's one, what's his name? Testing Catalog, I think his name is, something like that. He has a newsletter, or they have a newsletter that summarizes like this week's activities. And it's like a huge newsletter every week of like, here's everything OpenAI did, here's everything Google did, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And that's the most exciting part to me, of like every week there's something that's like, oh my God, someone did that.
Very true.
And that's really cool.
Yeah. So I guess, where can people learn more about you or your product or your business?
Yeah. So the company's called Mainspring. Our website's themainspring.ai. If you need payments or payroll, we'll do it. We'll get you a great price. Me, I don't really have like an internet presence other than my LinkedIn.
Well, you do
Probably
now.
from like, I do now. Yeah. From crypto land, you're supposed to stay anonymous on the internet. So I lived a long life anonymously,
I see.
but yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, Will. This
Thank you.
This has been a great conversation. I enjoyed the non-vibe coding topics as well. And thank you everyone for listening and for watching. And definitely make sure to go to vibe-coding.fm to stay up to date with the latest news, tools, and resources regarding vibe coding. And we're also hosting our first meetup in New York City on September 25th. So probably by the time this comes out, it will have already passed. But if you are in New York and you're listening or watching to this, check out our website so you can stay up to date with the next meetups that we're doing. Thank you so much, and we will see you soon.